JBN, we keep you informed. 70-year-old female retiree chopped to death in porous Manchester. A 70-year-old woman was attacked and chopped to death in a house in porous Manchester late on Sunday. The deceased has been identified as Evadne Gale, otherwise called Miss Birdie. Reports are that about 9:30 p.m., relatives went to visit the retiree and discovered her body with multiple chop wounds and her throat slashed. The discovery has triggered widespread shock and anger in the once quiet community where the elderly woman lived and died. A team of detectives processed the scene and are appealing to anyone with information to contact the nearest police station to tell what they know. Beheading trial, prosecution closes case. Prosecutors have closed their case in the murder trial of two men charged in connection with the beheading of a St. Catherine woman and her teenage daughter in 2011. Paula Llewellyn, the lead prosecutor, made the announcement in the Home Circuit Court yesterday afternoon after the final police witness gave evidence. Anthony Williams, the attorney representing Sanjay Dukoli, has since indicated that he intends to ask the court to find that prosecutors have not made out a prima facie case against his client. Williams was scheduled to begin making his no-case submissions to presiding judge Vivian Harris at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Dukoli and Kemar Riley are among 5 men charged with the July 2011 killing of Charmaine Kovarachi, 40, and her 18-year-old daughter, Joyce Lynch, inside their Lauriston St. Catherine home. The other 3, Adrian Campbell, Fabian Smith, and Roshane Goldson, have already pleaded guilty to non-capital murder and are scheduled to be sentenced on December 13. Holness puts JLP leadership on notice for elections, warns about broken promises. There are more signs that the two major political parties are about to shift gears as the election season draws near. The leader of the governing Jamaica Labour Party, Andrew Holness, was in southeast St. Anne on the weekend and told the party's leadership that they must get ready for elections. You must not be ready for yourselves. It is for the Jamaica Labour Party. When I go out into the field and I meet people, it's just amazing when they say to me, make sure you get the second term. We want you to get the second term. We like what you're doing and we want to see it continue. Holness told the members of parliament, caretakers, and key organizers who make up the party's leadership in a closed-door meeting. Holness reasoned that with the JLP still being viewed positively in a large cross-section of the country, it was now up to the party to fulfill the wishes of the people. It doesn't mean that the people are already set in their minds, because as you all know, as representatives or people seeking to represent, that the Jamaican public is first of all hard marking. They are judging you, not using the same ruler as they judge other party because they expect better and higher performance from you. What the other party will get away with, will not get away with, Holness, also the Prime Minister, said as he counseled the party's leadership. In the same breath, as I'm saying we have public sentiment and a national mood, I am also saying this is something that you have to be careful with, very respectful of. It is also as if you have to make a covenant between you and the people, the JLP leader added. Both the JLP and the PNP have made their presence felt in the parish of St. Anne recently, with Peter Phillips, the PNP president, touring sections of the parish with Lisa Hanna, the Member of Parliament for the parish's southeastern constituency. Holness said as Prime Minister, he has fought to ensure that the government remained legitimate, explaining that the public expected the party to deliver on pledges made leading up to the February 2016 general election. He warned that governments oftentimes fall because of their failure to communicate with the electorate. You, as the leaders of the party, you have to keep the people who gave us the mandate. You have to keep them in the loop, communicate with them. Don't hide away from them, Holness urged. Meanwhile, Holness lashed the opposition People's National Party while strongly defending his administration's national security and intelligence strategy that was coming for every criticism. Holness, who was in Tivoli Gardens speaking at the last constituency conference before the party's annual conference next Sunday, told a sea of supporters, mostly clad in green, that the opposition was being an obstacle in his administration's efforts to fight crime. One of the criticisms leveled at the administration is that it has overused the state of public emergency and that the police were therefore not investigating murders. Holness rebuffed the critics, arguing that record levels of criminal cases are now being brought before the courts while the police are pursuing ruthless gangs. Jamaica may have to import teachers, says JTA president. Jamaica Teachers Association JT President Owen Speed is forecasting that the ongoing migration of the island's teachers could cripple and paralyze the education sector if the government does not speedily address the issue. Speed, while addressing the JT's half-yearly meeting at St. John's Methodist Church in Montego Bay, St. James on Friday, said the migration patterns of teachers can affect the quality of students being produced by the education sector. Over the years, the migration of teachers has resulted in many teaching vacancies at both primary and secondary schools, especially in the science, technology, engineering, and the maths STEM subject areas. However, in recent years, shortages have arisen in other areas, such as English language and technical and vocational subjects. At Friday's JTA meeting, Speed further contended that the government has been sleeping on the issue of migrating teachers for far too long. It is a very serious thing, and I'm wondering how comes the government is sleeping on this one for so long. The government needs to wake up and smell the coffee and understand that this teacher shortage is crippling the education sector and it is going to hurt the children. So whether they like teachers or not, they have to understand that this teacher migration thing is going to affect the results that we can produce in our children, he argued. Speed, who is also principal of Russell Primary School in the corporate area, said the government might have to resort to importing teachers to fill the void being left behind by local teachers through migration. We're going to have to find solutions to this problem, or else Jamaica is going to have to start recruiting teachers, believe it or not, because the rate of how the teachers are migrating, he further argued, while highlighting low salaries as one of the reasons for the migratory pattern of the nation's teachers. Speed also cited what he described as high levels of disrespect meted out to them by those in government and higher places, as also influencing the teachers' exodus from the island. At the rate of how they are going, some are slated to leave here in January next year, some are slated to leave here in April, some are slated to leave here in June and August month ends next year, he warned. He further urged the relevant stakeholders in not only government, but other areas to put an end to the disrespecting of the island's educators. The government needs to cut out the disrespect and the disrespecting of teachers. And it's not just the government, but the people in high places. You have some people on the radio stations. Some of them are failed lawyers, and they take a microphone now and they get a little thing to do on radio. And they're out there pretending as if they know everything about education. I tell you, they know nothing, Speed asserted. Meanwhile, the JTA president said the organization is not in favor of discussions swirling in the public domain regarding the proposed offering of more pay to maths and science teachers. We are not in favor of you going out there and paying maths teachers and science teachers more than all the other teachers in the system, because what we are saying is that teachers are now migrating from every field, Speed indicated. SOS Children's Village wards escape fire. 64 wards and 14 caregivers of the SOS Children's Village in Barrytown, St. James all escaped unharmed from a fire that broke out at the facility on Thursday night. The blaze was reportedly caused by an electrical shortage. The fire was confined to a section of a residential dorm at the rear of the property and resulted in minor damage. Floyd McLean, Assistant Commissioner for the Jamaica Fire Brigade's Area 4 Division, praised the quick action of the wards and caregivers in assisting to put out the blaze. The fire was extinguished partly by us because they, the wards and caregivers, were doing some things to help themselves before we arrived based on the kind of interaction and training they would have gotten from us, said McLean. Everybody came out scratch-free and our emergency medical technicians were there to ensure that no one was suffering from smoke inhalation. Ray Gregory, the interim director for the SOS Children's Village in Jamaica, said that the facility's occupants were prepared for emergencies from frequent fire drills. The youngsters who were in the house were evacuated, and the bigger boys with some of the staff went back using extinguishers and water until the fire brigade arrived and carried out firefighting and cooling down operations, said Gregory. The fire comes on the heels of a recent public appeal for funds to support the facility, after its international donor, SOS Kinderdorf International, decided to reroute funding to Africa and Asia. The call was made during a corporate fundraising breakfast in Montego Bay earlier last week. We are approaching a point where our major donor, SOS Kinderdorf International, has slated us pretty much for self-sufficiency. We went on the self-sufficient cluster in 2015, and it means that yearly would have been losing subsidy at a rate of 5%, Gregory told guests at the fundraiser. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.